A series finale can make or break a TV show. When you're investing years of your life into a series, it's tough enough to face up to the fact it one day must end. But if it doesn't come to a close in a satisfactory manner, then all those hours of joy can turn to ashes in your mouth. Some stick the landing like Breaking Bad and Community, but many like Lost, Dexter and How I Met Your Mother are far less appealing for most fans. So here and now, let's try to look to the future and predict where our favourite TV shows are headed, and more importantly, whether we think they can pull off their endings with style. With this in mind, I'm Jules from Whatculture.com, and this is 10 ways your favourite TV shows will probably end. And let's be honest here, spoilers incoming. Number 10. Oliver finds peace and hangs up the bow. Arrow. How much longer does Arrow have left? In the first couple of years, those involved with the show always talked about having a 5-year plan. But here we are in season 5 and things don't appear to be tying themselves up in a neat little bow and Arrow. What season 5 is doing though is further exploring the idea of Oliver allowing others to help him and even training them up himself. He's a man who wants two things: to find some sense of inner peace and to protect Star City. It's unlikely that he'll find peace while still being the Arrow, but Star City can perhaps one day be protected without him. He could still continue as mayor, working to save the city in the light and finally escaping his own darkness. Ooh, that sentence, much emo. But the point is this: Oliver probably won't be killed off, but instead complete his vigilante journey and move on to help others in different ways. Number 9. It'll end with Gene's story, not Jimmy's. Better Call Saul. Surely Better Call Saul will just catch up with Breaking Bad and that'll be it, right? Well, while that makes sense, it's just too simple for such a complex character study. The spin-off is in many ways the anti-Breaking Bad, and has carved out its own story that's very much worth telling. Jimmy McGill into Saul Goodman is fascinating, even if we do know the end result. But what we don't know is the story of Gene, Saul's alias who, while in hiding, is working in Cinnabon. The creators have said that they want to show more of this character, so it's likely we'll be seeing this mustachioed man again. And the links are there. Chuck might want to track him down, and Aaron Paul has even requested to be on the show. Whoever is involved, by the end of the show, this story stands to be the one we'll focus on. And as it's Better Call Saul, will most likely end in tragedy. Number 8. Claire becomes president. House of Cards. You almost feel sorry for shows like House of Cards. The real-life 2016 US election was so insane and the outcome so disastrous that you have to wonder how a TV show can possibly compete. Well, House of Cards certainly has a few hands left to play, and Season 4 offered some big clues as to what it might be. Firstly, Frank was shot. This is the first time that we've really seen him as being vulnerable. Then, at the end, Claire joined him in breaking the fourth wall. She's been the most interesting character for a while now, and they finally put her on level footing with Frank. Season 4 flirted with Frank's death, and we think that 5 will go through with it. After he's secured another term as POTUS, he'll be offed either via assassination or maybe a power grab from Claire herself. And as VP, she'll be the one to step into the void, much like Frank himself did. Number 7. It'll be something totally ambiguous. The Leftovers. Damon Lindelof knows a thing or two about TV endings. As the co-creator, showrunner and head writer for Lost, he was responsible for creating one of the most talked about TV shows of the 21st century, and then ending it in a way that left half the viewership either disappointed or scratching their heads. The Leftovers shares similarities to Lost in that it's opened up a number of mysteries and has a huge amount of unanswered questions. But will there be answers? Probably not all that many. We may never know what happened to the world or what its future holds. This is still Lindelof after all, and he's spoken about the ending being about the characters finding some sort of peace while being ambiguous. Okay then, it may well be the case that central mysteries are never tied up, and perhaps that's the way it needs to be. Number 6. Nick and Jess get back together, everyone leaves the loft. New Girl. New Girl is the closest thing that we have right now to Friends. It shares a similar DNA in the warmth, the humour, and the friendships. So while it might be slightly cliche, New Girl is probably going to go down a similar route for its ending. As the show progresses, it's only going to become clearer that they'll need to go their own ways from the apartment. They can't stay there forever after all. It's the right place for them at this stage of their lives, but when the series ends, it'll be about moving on to the next stage. And if we're going with the happiest ending possible, Jess will most likely get together with Nick for good. It might not be Ross or Rachel, but in their own Nick and Jess way, the two will end the series together, with everyone else getting their own happy finale too, leaving the loft, growing up, moving out, and so on. Sickening happiness all around. Number 5. A Parting of Ways. Sherlock. There's not a real major narrative reason for Sherlock to end soon, but more of a logistical one. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman are well-established stars now, each with an incredibly packed schedule, and it's already taking an age just to make 3 episodes of Sherlock. While they've spoken before about just revisiting it as and when they can, that's not really the best treatment for the show, those involved, or its fans. There have already been signs that John and Sherlock are growing apart, what with John having a family, and that's going to need to take precedence. Cumberbatch himself had said that Season 4 could very well be the last, cast, and while that's not confirmation of anything, it does show that the end is being thought about. We think what we'll see is John and Sherlock finally parting ways, finding other things to devote their time to and no longer working together. But the door to 221B Baker Street will be left open for future sleuths to take up the mantle. Number 4. Piper gets out of prison. Orange is the New Black. Although Orange is the New Black started out as the story of Piper Chapman, 4 seasons in, that certainly isn't the case. While she's still one of the main characters, it's alongside a sea of others, many of them infinitely more developed and more interesting than she is. However, the series started and eventually has to end with Piper. Of course, there'll be many storylines going on at the time, but when Piper gets out of prison, either through release or death, there's a good chance that it'll mark the end of the show. Another possible factor in this is Litchfield itself. We've been shown again and again the precarious state of this prison system. And maybe Piper leaving prison will coincide with or be a result of the facility shutting down. Prison life will go on for all the other characters as there's no definitive end for them as such, but they all go their separate ways and the show will be no more. Number 3. Rick dies but his family is safe. The Walking Dead. Will The Walking Dead ever end? That's not a criticism, by the way, that's just an observation, as it's currently in its 7th season and nowhere near caught up with the graphic novels on which it's based. With creator Robert Kirkman saying the graphic novels could go up to 300 issues or more, there's a lot left for the series to adapt. Combined with its huge popularity, it's no wonder that executives have spoken of going to season 12 and even beyond. So how could it end if it ever does? Well, The Walking Dead is Rick's story above all else. Yes, it's a survivalist tale and about hope versus despair, but ultimately it comes back to Rick Grimes. He's the center of this universe and it'll die with him. He's almost certainly making it to the series finale, whenever that may be, and taking Carl and Judith along with him. To be honest, we can't imagine them actually creating a cure as the show is a bit too nihilistic for that, but at least they might find some safe haven, free from walkers and human threats, a place that his children can be secure. For a while at least, and that's when Rick will bite the dust, his job done. Number 2, it loops back. The Simpsons. While its quality has declined massively since its golden age, The Simpsons run is still remarkable. It's been renewed through to season 30, taking it to the record for number of episodes of a scripted TV show. And when you consider that and how much of an institution it's become, wrapping things up becomes an almost impossible task. There's always a chance that it won't go out on its own terms, like through cancellation or irreplaceable cast members leaving, but The Simpsons has earned the right to go out how it wants. The episode could build towards the family going to the Christmas pageant that kicks off the very first episode, Simpsons roasting on an open fire. As it progresses, the animation style would regress back to what we saw right at the beginning too. It'd certainly be a bold ending to attempt, but really, how else can you end this show? And number 1, The Battle of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. The ending of Game of Thrones is hurtling towards us. It's all going to stop after Season 8, which is expected to air in 2018 and consist of just 6 episodes. Given where the story is, it seems like there's nowhere near enough time, which is actually probably a good thing, as there'll be no dragging it out, just one hell of a momentous build towards the climax. But what exactly would that climax be? The only thing that we know for sure is that it will be epic, and according to GRRM, bittersweet. While there are numerous theories ranging from someone sitting on the Iron Throne to Jon versus Daenerys, the most likely thing right now seems to be the Battle of Ice and Fire. The White Walkers break through the wall and invade Westeros, and it's left to the likes of Jon, Daenerys, and of course the dragons to combat them. It's called A Song of Ice and Fire after all, and the Walkers have clearly been positioned as the major threat our heroes have to deal with. Westeros will be laid to waste and many will die. The good guys will just about win, but at a major cost and with few lives spared. So yeah, bittersweet. And that's our list. Got any more show endings that you'd like to share? Well, let us know about them in the comments section below. And if you want to check out my closing shots, you can do so here or on my personal Twitter, RetroJ with a 0. As always, if you enjoyed the video, then like, share and subscribe for more. I've been Jules for Whatculture.com, and I'll see you soon.